Hello everyone, I'm Carla Buzasi, CEO of WGSN, and this is Lives of Tomorrow coming to you from Abu Dhabi. So today we're talking about the future of retail, deep diving into how modern brands can cultivate loyalty with Gen Z in particular. We're going to look at strategies for balancing aspirational design with accessible pricing and powerful brand communities. So to share his insights, I've got the CEO of Axel Arigato, Albin Johansson. Hello, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm a very lazy podcast host, so I'm afraid I'm going to get you to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Okay, I'll try my best. So my name is Albin. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Axel Arigato. We've been around for soon to be 12 years, and it's been a heck of a ride, so to say.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate to be involved in a lot of different things, experience a lot of different things, and obviously seen how the world has just been changing throughout this time, and especially the last years. It's been a sort of a bumpy ride, so to say, but very learnful, great experience, and it feels like, I guess for everyone, but especially for us, it's been feeling like dog years, so to say. 1 year is 7 years.
What was the original concept behind the brand? Why did you found a new fashion brand?
So we were 25 at that time, Max and I. We were both working within the fashion industry, but on the multi-brand side, driven by e-commerce actually.
Okay.
So we were coming from a consumer perspective. And at this time, this is in 2013, you know, this is when Netflix really started to take ground, Spotify, Instagram. This is the early days of that, when you saw that media and the way we consume media totally changed. Like people now are talking about AI, TikTok and so on as being disruptive, but I think that was a moment when it was a huge disruption. And being in the core center of that as consumers, as users, also interested in fashion, there was not a single brand that we could truly identify ourselves with. We thought that they were all working according to the old system and didn't embrace the new system. So being in the intersection of this as consumers, but also as sort of young professionals, one could say, to see what really drove the e-commerce at that time, what made the multi-brands exciting, and what was the good with the legacy brands. So based on that, we saw and thought, okay, what can we do here? So it was a few sort of foundational things that we came up with. One was pricing. Why did, in particular, shoes then have to cost as much as they did from sort of luxury or contemporary brands? Another thing was how accessible is brands by their offering. And that was collections. At that time, most brands did 2 to 4 collections a year.
Yeah, which is so old-fashioned now, right?
It's so old-fashioned. A few still do it. But we came from the multi-brand website where it was one tab that was like the majority of all clicks, and that was what's new. So then I was thinking about this, okay, how do we do this? And that's how the drop of the week concept came up. So we always did something, and then on top of that, we always produced content. We always, posted it through social, sent emails, whatever it was, to have kind of a top of mind strategy, to almost give, to give, not to give a reason to not think about us. And also, of course, sort of throwing a lot of pasta on the wall and see what's working, what's not working.
What sticks?
Exactly.
What's been the kind of biggest change that you've seen over that 12-year period? Now, you already said it's been a bumpy few years, economic backdrop's been challenging, technology's advanced massively in that period of time. But for you as a brand, what are the changes that have impacted you the most?
I think what has impacted us the most is probably the technology. We were very fast in adapting Instagram. We had this kind of growth hacking model there, and we usually say we were born on the pages of Instagram, and not sort of fashion magazines, catwalks, or physical retail, wholesale retail whatsoever. And already I'm pretty good with dates. I think it was the 26th of March 2016 when Instagram changed from being a 100% organic platform to start with their ads. And that was like someone just put the rug behind us. I remember us spending almost 50,000 euros in 2 months, which was It's still a lot of money, but then it was a huge amount, and we didn't get any ROI on it because we were thinking we need to be fast on these things, right? So then we learned, okay, how do we adapt to these new things? So and then Meta has changed its algorithms, TikTok, Google, everything there. So I think those things have changed a lot for us.
Do you think it's been powerful in terms of that's a really difficult period, but what you learn from it and the adaptability that you've just got to have as a brand today? You can't really take anything for granted, right?
There is always a gold mine around the corner.
Yeah.
So you don't look back and think like, I'm very grateful for what we had, or sort of keep on chasing the past, so to say. You need to keep on chasing the new, because there is always something new around the corner. And if you don't know what it is, you just need to keep on searching. And I think that's probably in my personal DNA to have been, or maybe even before this journey, but to have seen this and lived through this and know that we can scale again. We just need to find out how and where.
So let's pick up on the new. So the world is changing exponentially. What are your predictions in terms of how retail is going to evolve in the years to come?
For me, I'm thinking about what's really going to happen. I see a lot now that people are fans to a very different way than what they used to be. Well, there have been different sort of articles lately and discussions about merch, and you want to have from a matchup place or maybe Erewhon in LA or whatever it is. Is this what was that Trader Joe bag now that people are talking about?
The tote bag.
Exactly, that retailed at 300 and it was already even up at eBay for 50K.
Oh my God.
So obviously that's become a thing, but it starts with a fan thing. And when I see sports, for instance, which is just getting more and more sort of cultural relevancy, I think at least in my lifetime, I haven't seen this involvement from a fan's perspective in a long time, or ever, I even have to say. So I really think that this fan thing, authenticity, that is what is super important. What we talk a lot about is that it used to be a few very clear trends. That's not the case anymore.
No.
You almost have everything going on. And whether that's, like in my industry, footwear is my predominantly thing. Take a brand such as Dr. Martens. Like, will it ever be out of trend? I'm not so sure about it anymore. You can see these cyclical things why there are, I don't want to mention other brands that might not be on there, so to say, but I think that's rather, they shouldn't be waiting for their next trend.
No.
They should be working on their brand. And if they do, they will always have these, at least as it looks now, loyal fans. You don't need to wait for skate to get trendy again, because there are skaters there. There are people that identify themselves as skaters. So I think it's a lot about going down to the roots, being yourself, being authentic. That I think is something that people are talking about it, but I don't think people are doing enough about it.
I think the word authenticity just gets overused, and people don't really spend enough time thinking what that actually means. So what does authenticity mean to you?
Be yourself and not pretend to be someone else. But it's also that, especially like post-COVID, the kind of financial crisis that went through with inflation and so on, almost everyone had to search for revenue, search for profit. So they were sort of, what's working right now? And that made them jump to the next island, and we'll trial and error. We squeeze it as much as we can. And then when we have squeezed the shit out of it, so to say, then we'll go on to the next. And I think that's very short-term thinking. And that is not authentic. Why they might think that it's authentic, it is not authentic. So it's all about, thinking, where are we from 6, 12, 36 months from now? And how is that speaking about ourselves?
I want to come back to the point about brand loyalty, because one of the things that I think is so interesting is how that has dispersed. And, you've seen different generations have different attitudes towards different brands, but certainly with the proliferation of choice, that brand loyalty has dipped. How do you tackle that? And as you think about sort of younger generations connecting with your brand, let's think about Gen Z for a minute. How do you try and nurture brand loyalty? Or is it more about you want to be open to all?
we don't want to speak to all,
Okay.
but if people want to come into our world,
Yeah.
then they are more than welcome.
Okay.
But they don't need to like what we're doing. But I think it's fine if people are not loyal, so to say, because everyone is changing in life, and those changes goes faster than ever. It's a bigger offering than ever. Our knowledge about what's happening in the world and what is possible to do in the world, it's also bigger than ever due to, you know, just the development of internet and social media. So while I'm a huge fan of loyalty, I think it has to be used and worked in the right way.
I think that is such an interesting take. I don't know if I heard anybody else speak that way. Everyone else is, we're going off this consumer and these are all the things we're going to do to ensure that they keep coming back and we're showing up in their lives and they're coming into ours. That's really refreshing. It's really cool. So is it working?
We're on top of doing a lot in the brand now, I would say. When we opened up our first store in Soho, London, 2016, I shouldn't say that we disrupted retail, because we didn't. However, we did something new, we did something fresh, we put a lot of energy into it and so on. And for me now, in the world of Axel Arigato, it's about how can we reinvent ourselves? What is the retail 2.0 for us, and how can we actually connect it to a loyalty program for the ones that are there, and how can we connect with different things and people and brands and so on in the sort of society that we are in.
Can you talk a little bit about collaboration? Because you've just used that word there. And again, it's another topic I'm quite interested in. How do you think about who you're going to collaborate with? And is it more about, you know, the consumer, or is it more about other brands? What makes that kind of meeting of minds effective for you?
But now when we think about collaborations, for me, we did one with Mulberry, for instance, just to take as an example, that we launched in spring 23, which was very unexpected. But I think it was so good, strategically executed, visually, from all different senses. And best was that we merged sort of two very different worlds.
Very different brands.
But it still sort of totally made sense. And for me now is that I don't think when two brands are doing it just to sort of get reach, for me that's done and over, and I think it's for most people. But sort of thinking about today and tomorrow, I come back to it must make sense, and it's sort of how do we adapt into new communities, and how can we be there? And it's not about scale, it's rather about creating these moments, and whether that's sort of a matcha place or a pizza slice place, or, you know, we did something last week in Paris during Fashion Week where we had an event with the chess club in Paris. And I would say it's one of the best events that we've ever had.
I love that.
People came to our store in Le Marais in Paris then, and some were sort of not brand fans, ambassadors. They just wanted to play chess.
Okay.
Some were huge fans of the brand, you know, very loyal customer. They wanted to come out and have a good time, and then they played chess. And you know, it was the fifth best player in the world also came up there. So we made a chess event in the Axel Arigato way. So it's a lot about the Axel Arigato way, and I think that's a collaboration for me. It doesn't need to be about creating a collection or anything. While and then coming back to the Mulberry example, I think that's when it can be very interesting and so on. And in between, in all honesty, I'm not so interested. Because then you do collaborations because you should do it, and maybe get some PR, maybe get some reach and so on. And I think that's rather belongs to the past and the future.
How did the chess idea come about?
From a really good team. I had no idea. No, but it's we're talking a lot about, it's not about doing a chess or I don't know, playing Uno now or whatever. It's more about, you know, getting the activity or getting the energy, creating these moments where people just want to have a good time. And it's because Axel Arigato we should be a warm brand. And what we say a lot now is that we should give the sort of normal people, so to say, a cool, nice, fun, energetic time to hang out with each other. So it's like our new slogan is we exist to connect.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Gen Z, because that's what we were supposed to be talking about. Do you, and you might, you know, just throw that back at me. Do you think about specific generations, or are you more thinking about a mindset?
Mindset.
Okay.
I'm personally a bit tired of these labels. You know.
So it's just if there's something that resonates with you as an individual, with our brand, then doors are open.
And I think that while while labeling people, put them into categories is not necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
I also think that the way people are living right now is that they can change.
Yeah.
And you can be 50 and still identify yourself with Gen Z, even though you didn't grow up at the same time, and you can have the same preferences.
Yeah.
So I think it's not wrong, but I don't think that way.
You didn't work that way as a company. No. Okay, right. I'm going to try and get to know you a little bit better. So this is not about the brand as such. Quick fire questions. What did you say you wanted to be when you were growing up?
When I was young, I wanted to be an ice hockey player.
Ah, okay.
And then I probably did want to do a bit of everything.
What's your most frequently used app?
Outlook.
I
Boring.
think we might have to change this question because most people do say very boring answers to it. Honest answers, that's good. Your favorite AI tool?
Gemini.
Snap. Song you currently have on repeat?
Yeah, if it would be one, it would be Forever Young.
Ah, it's a nice one. And what was the last thing you ticked off your bucket list?
Visiting Madrid.
Ah, okay.
I wanted to go there for a long time,
Yeah.
and finally I did a few months ago.
Beautiful
Great
food,
city, by the way.
Really
yeah.
good city.
And buzzing right now.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about sustainability. You've got quite a sort of significant strategy and sort of viewpoint on that. What do you think sustainability means 2026 and beyond?
I think sustainability as a conversational thing has almost taken a step back, at least from a business perspective.
Completely agree with you.
And in 2026, we will still be in that mode. So I think companies are probably not moving ahead the way they should be doing, in all honesty. It goes slower now.
I think that's because the consumer said they cared about sustainability and then didn't shop that way. And so companies have gone, well, it's not really making any money, so...
Yeah, but the flip side to that, though, is that, you know, vintage shopping has gone very fast the last years. I talked to a guy having a store. His buyers are going to buy secondhand before they go to Paris, because they want to have what's like the next thing, so to say, or the last thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And I found that very interesting because they are buyers of a really nice store.
Yeah.
And this whole vintage thing and so on, that's if people wants to have really high fashion and the latest, vintage has that.
Yes.
And as a brand, you can never compete with vintage. You just can't, because of the speed, and the products are already there.
Yeah.
But what you can compete with instead is products that like would live for a long time, like the vintage of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think we have been thinking a lot about that. How are we actually designing and how are we building up our collections to not do this kind of, we're not a runway brand, but we shouldn't need to do runway pieces either.
Yeah.
Rather sort of, how can we make really thought through products, great quality, good materials at a good price, that it lasts for a long time. That can be in your wardrobe for a long time. And so I think sustainability has actually changed that mentality for brands.
Yeah.
And if people consume that way, I think that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, the worst thing is when you buy something and you don't use it.
Yeah, of course.
And the best thing is when you use it for a long time.
Yeah. So do you think about the resale market when you're creating, or is it more that you're hoping or expecting that people are going to keep that item for a long period themselves?
I would say not direct, but indirect we do. Of course, we have pieces that are relevant for the season. I shouldn't say anything else. It would be wrong, but still to have more considered options for the consumer. We do that. And if those options are considered, they will be more relevant for reselling. And of course, quality, the materials that we're using and so on. If we would have products that would just rip apart, then that wouldn't be considered for reselling either.
So let's talk about the kind of accessible price. You've used that word, I've used that word when I was introducing you earlier. How do you think about that when you're pricing? Because, you know, cost of raw materials has gone up, you've tariffs and things to throw into the mix as well. How do you keep a price point that you think is reasonable for your consumer and ensure that, you know, your CFO is still happy?
I think we went a bit too fast and high with our prices for our positioning and brand. So we're trying to balance, we are balancing that now and finding our sweet spots. I think in general, whether it comes to fashion, whether it goes to performance, whatever it is, I think people tend to have too good materials for what they actually need. And I think brands are offering too good materials as well, whether that's, how thick of a cotton that is, or what kind of cashmere it is, and so on. So, and like, just take it for granted that it should be sustainable, but
yes,
it doesn't need to be the best of the best all the time that jumps up the prices.
Okay.
That I think is one way of giving an honest offering as well.
I think honest is the nice word in there, that you're doing something that works for the consumer, hopefully works for the supplier in there as well, but that you have a sustainable brand in terms of one that's going to continue to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
You're opening a store in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, later this year. So, and you've got stores, dotted around. How do you think about global expansion? And are you going to change your offering here, or is it this is the way and you're hoping that you're going to, find fans in different parts of the world?
We definitely hope to find fans all over the world. I think that for us as a brand, we are fortunate that we've been successful, and in some cases even very successful in some local cities. So it's about how do we replicate that and how do we export this brand to new markets.
Yeah.
And why we need to stay true to ourselves, we also have to be smart and think about sort of what's the local behaviors and what are local trends, what are local people, how are people living as well, and so on. So absolutely some local adaptation will always be crucial in my opinion.
So let's think about the kind of retail kind of umbrella theme. How do you balance, your bricks and mortar, your online offering? Do you think your consumer thinks about those two things differently? And how do you think that will change in the future?
I think that consumers are probably thinking, if I want this product, I should be able to buy it anywhere.
Yeah.
And they have obviously got more used to e-commerce.
Yeah.
And the size that you can offer in an e-com store, you can't offer in a physical store. Yeah. So there's a bridge to be gapped. And how does a brand solve that? It's up to any brand, I would say. Sometimes you can maybe show the color, but not in every size, and whatever it is. But I think from a brand perspective and how to build collection, it's very different. We have hired people throughout the years who have had a background from traditional retailers or wholesale brands.
Yeah.
And how they want to build a collection is very different compared to how we should build our collection. Because for me, I'm sort of we come from digital first.
Right.
We were 100% e-com.
Yeah.
And zero physical and wholesale. While other brands, they were 0% digital.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always about how do we build a good collection for online, and how do we then squeeze it into retail and wholesale. But when we start the other way around, we're not going to end up in a good place.
You didn't decide to just stay e-com.
No.
You decided stores would be important, and you've got, lots of them. If you look back on that, and you're still opening them, so you can definitely see a value in creating that space.
100%.
And did you see it as a value for selling, or was it more about how you were going to build the brand?
For me, it's always the brand first.
Okay.
We've never taken shortcuts as a brand, and especially not in the beginning. We were always about what can create longevity for the brand. How do we put this up for success in 6 to 12 years from now on? And I think retail plays a huge important role into that. Yeah. So it's about offering the brand, showing the universe of us. Yeah. And when I come into some of our stores, and I feel like, how can someone that is not knowing about our brands, understanding our brand in this space, and when they cannot, we need to change it.
Okay, you got it wrong.
And I actually think we're kind of a hostage of the environment that we live in there, because I think retail in general is really boring these days. If you go into our store, putting this energy, this youthfulness, being welcoming and so on, if someone is not understanding that when they come into our space, we have failed. Then the whole investment is just, a sunk cost.
How do you think about service in that context? Because a lot of the kind of forecasts that we're doing around that sees, changes in expectations. And I think, let's go back, and probably service was a really important part of retail. And then for many reasons, e-com being part of that, people were short on time, service kind of went out the window, not everywhere in the world, but the expectation seems to be coming back that consumers want to walk into a store and have someone who's actually going to, spend some time with them and care about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Is that an important part in terms of how you think about who you're hiring into stores and how they're trained?
So when we opened up the first store, I went to London and I lived there for 9 months.
Okay.
So I wanted to have someone from north, someone from south, someone from east, someone from west. And the rationality behind that was that we should know what was going on in London. Because if you then, let's say someone living in Paris is coming from, is visiting London and is coming to us, we should ask, so what are you doing here? I'm here for the weekend, I'm here with my friends or my partner or whatever. Okay, what do you like to do? I like to go to a nightclub. Okay, what kind of nightclub do you want to do? Do you want to have house? Do you want to have techno? Do you want to have rap? Do you want to have, I don't know, jazz bar or whatever?
Yeah.
And say, yeah, but hey, Johnny, you are in East. What's the best jazz bar now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's that one. Great. Do you like art galleries? Okay, what kind of art do you like? There's someone maybe living in West. What kind of art galleries do you have there? And then I want to go for a run and I want to have a matcha later. Okay, then you should go there. And if you build that trust and you are really nice, you will eventually also, it's kind of a reverse psychology there. The product already has a stamp. I trust this brand and these products are good.
Yeah, and there's a connection there which you wouldn't make, which you can't make in an e-commerce world.
Exactly.
That's really fascinating. I love that. So you've talked a lot about, digital first mindset, using new technology, but then you've also talked about that kind of power of that connection that you're building when someone comes into store or interacts with your brand. Where does AI fit into that for Axel Arigato?
It's never been easier to start a brand than today, or a company than it is today. And the level of, quick adaptation, how you can just innovate and so on with these tools, it's insane.
Yeah.
And I think that the boring part with Axel Arigato, luckily we're not so rigid as a huge oil tanker, but we are to some extent, we're much more rigid than a small brand or a new brand.
Yeah.
Good move, but we still need to lift the discussions more up. We need to discuss it more at exco level. We need to discuss it more at board level. So it really gets the attention that it should be doing. We, as one example, we invested heavily into all the IT stack architecture 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
For good and for bad reasons. And now we're looking at sort of redoing that. And when we benchmark our IT cost with the traditional IT cost, we are too high. So if we want to cost reduce it and become essentially more profitable, we need to reduce our IT costs. Then over Christmas and New Year's, I took some time off. I listened to different pods and so on, and was thinking more about this AI thing. And then I was thinking for myself, but that's probably not right now. We probably need to increase our investment into IT, where we put all the AI and so on, so that we're not losing 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think, for instance, that with let's say just a benchmark 2% of your revenue, but maybe today it should be 4%.
Yeah.
But I don't think people are discussing that yet, because we don't know whether it should be 2, whether it should be 3, 4, or even 6.
Yeah.
And should you move it from other parts of sort of your P&L?
Yeah.
Obviously, this whole with staffing and so on is a big discussion. We still don't know about that.
So what can we look forward to in the future? What are you excited about?
It all comes from this brand platform that I'm so passionate about that I could speak about it for hours, in all honesty. And I really think that we've removed so much unhealthy friction internally.
Yeah.
It's the vision of the brand is very clear now, and what we're starting to do from an energy, a culture, a connection perspective, content perspective, assortment perspective, it all starts to make sense. And when we now will reinvent our own retail, and not only the visuals, but also the experience there and so on, I think the brand will become more cohesive than what it ever has been.
It's easier than ever, but I would say it's also easier than ever to fail because of that, because you can launch your brand, but if you haven't thought about all those parameters that you're talking about, you're here today and then gone tomorrow.
Absolutely, but then they just start a new brand. It's like Winnie the Pooh. Do you know what he said?
What?
So he told his friend that the pig. I always remember the name.
Piglet.
Piglet, yeah. So he told Piglet, if you want to climb and you take a rope, and that rope just falls down, you keep on taking a new rope until it sticks, and then you climb. So he wasn't stupid, Winnie the Pooh.
Have you read The Tao of Pooh? there's someone, like a Chinese philosopher or philosophy student, took all of Pooh's like best quotes and put it in a little book. I've got it at home.
Aha! You need to send me a picture of it.
I'm going to send you a picture of it. You have to invest in the Tao of Pooh because that's definitely one of those. Okay, final question. Are you more anxious or hopeful about the future?
I'm always hopeful. I always think that the best time is ahead, and not in the past.
That's a lovely answer. Thank you so much. It's been a fascinating conversation, really, really interesting. And yeah, I've loved talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. So that wraps up this particular podcast, part of our series on the future of retail. I'll be back in a couple of weeks' time.